All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So thank you to everybody who has showed up to this meeting. This meeting is mainly just to go over the course syllabus and the schedule, lay out some of the expectations for the class, and then if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them. This should probably only take like 15 minutes to a half hour, I'm guessing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. So my name is Kellen Roth. I'm a 2017 graduate of Kent State's ID program. And this is my third year teaching the class. The first time that I've ever had to do it totally online, so this is a little bit of an adjustment for me. So bear with me as I'm trying to restructure kind of the entire way that the course is delivered. So there's going to be a lot of figuring things out as we go along, right? So as we move forward, I'm sort of developing the concept content a few weeks ahead. All right, so we're just going to be in this together, sort of figuring out what works and doesn't work. Okay. I work for an architecture firm called Vocon. They're out of Cleveland. I've been with them for the past 3 years. At Vocon, I do a lot of 3D modeling and rendering type work. So if you're familiar with anything like that, that's kind of what I do. I don't really have like a super typical interior design job. I'm more like sort of in a niche sort of area of the industry. And then this spring, I actually decided to go back to school. So I kind of described this in my little introduction that I put out in the forum. But I decided to go back to school, and right now I'm at University of Akron getting a degree in cybersecurity. So just like you guys, I'm a full-time student. I do some work still on the side for Vocon. I also do some sort of consultation work for like other architects and stuff like that. So I am working, but most of the time, just like you guys, I'm taking classes and taking exams and studying and doing homework and stuff like that. So we're kind of all in the same boat here, I guess. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. If you can't see it, let me know, but I'm going to cut to my screen so we can kind of walk through the syllabus and the schedule together. I'm also still trying to figure out how to use this tool because, like I said, I haven't had to do this before, so this is my first time using this. I don't know if anybody else has. One sec. So I'm going to move this. All right, can you see my screen? No?
No.
No.
All right, 1 second.
No, I can.
No, I can.
Yeah, I can. You can see it?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yes.
All right, so you can follow along just like this, or if you want to pull it up in the on the course page, whatever, or you can just look at it later. But anyway, I'm just going to read through some of this. I'm not going to go over everything super in detail because it's really dry. I'm sure you've had a lot of this today, just like boring stuff. So I'm not going to subject you to that, for too long. But I'm just going to highlight on some of the key points. All right, so course description. This course is going to prepare you for an ongoing explanation of integration of architectural software to assist with design problems and with the interior design practice. Coursework is going to cover basic fundamentals of popular architectural programs. So we're going to look into first AutoCAD, and then at the end of the semester we're going to look into Revit. All right, I'm sure many of you are kind of familiar with the two of those already. But then in the middle, between the two, we're going to look into Photoshop and InDesign. Now this says Illustrator as well. We're not going to be really talking about Illustrator. I forgot to edit that out. But yeah, it's going to go AutoCAD, Photoshop, InDesign, and then Revit at the end. All right, so it's an accelerated learning course that uses immersive techniques to focus on acquiring language, understanding the software's capabilities and limitations, engaging in problem-solving scenarios through projects to develop integrated digital visual communication skills. All right, so this has changed a little bit. This course this time around is not going to be as project-based. So in the past, it was basically set up so you'd have one project per piece of software that we cover. So at the beginning, I would cover AutoCAD for a couple weeks, and then we'd start a project together, and then we would work through that. And then at the very end, I would have you, wrap up some of the final things with the project and then turn it in, and that's what I would grade. And then same goes for Photoshop and for Revit, sort of just like 3 big chunks of assignments, I guess. But with this being online and with me being like back in school and stuff, I want to kind of change how we're doing that. So now I'm sort of gearing things a lot more toward stuff that can be graded automatically. So a lot more like quizzes and stuff. And like obviously with this type of a class, you still have to have some of those. I actually have to see that you can use the software, so I have to actually manually grade you in some areas. So those sort of assignments, they're going to be smaller though. Okay, so there's going to be more of them spread out throughout the semester, but they're going to be smaller and easier and quicker to complete. So hopefully you guys won't get like behind or anything. Like I know that was an issue in the past where we would have these bigger assignments, and if somebody would get behind in one aspect, it might be hard for them to catch up, and then they end up turning things in late and stuff like that. So hopefully this will kind of help to mitigate that so that it's just a lot more smooth sailing from here on out. All right, so course learning objectives. Upon successful completion of work, you'll be able to demonstrate program fluency by developing an understanding of the language of each program and the file outputs that are comparable between the programs. Recognize and apply the appropriate program to assist with specific design problems. Demonstrate basic digital drawing abilities. Understand the concepts of construction documentation and utilizing industry standards. Demonstrate development of accurate and competent construction documents in both 2D AutoCAD and 3D Revit applications. Understand the concepts of building information modeling and its tools for the parametric design and documentation. Be able to utilize available plotting devices and formats to produce physical drawings reflective of digital documentation. So with that one, we're going to be covering out how to actually, print out your drawings and stuff like that. But obviously with it being an online class, you don't have to turn in anything physical. Like that's kind of in there because this used to be, all in person, and you would have had to turn in something physical, but not this semester. Acquire and demonstrate digital abilities to assist with 3D modeling, rendering, and presentation utilizing all available programs. All right, so student supply requirements. You got to have a laptop that follows along with the CAED's computing requirements for interior design. Like I said in my email I sent out a few weeks ago to you guys, you really want to stay away from a Mac computer just because there's a lot of differences. Well, one, it's incompatible with like Revit is a big one. You just can't run Revit on it unless you like sort of install Windows operating system onto the Mac, but then that's just a big deal. Usually they have smaller hard drives and you can't fit very many applications on them, and like certain programs that do work on Mac that also work on Windows are just set up completely different. So for instance, the Mac version of AutoCAD, all the buttons and commands are like the entire user interface is just totally different than what it is on the Windows version. So that makes a lot of problems for like if I'm trying to help you with something and you show me your screen and I'm looking at like the Mac interface, like I have no idea like how to even help you. So that was a big issue in the past, and like we're trying to get away from that. I think like the biggest problem though is they don't really give you guys a really clear guidance on that, like going into your first year. Like that's when they should really like cover that hard and like make sure that you understand that like going into the program at the very beginning, because then by the time you get to like my class in second year, a lot of times, you know, it's too late and people have already bought something, and it's just it can cause problems. So yeah, Macs not so great. Also, you really need to make sure that whatever computer you have is pretty closely aligned with the requirements that are on that website. So they gave you like a list of specifications that you need to have for like interior design. I honestly recommend, if you can afford it, getting something a little bit closer to architecture, what they have as their requirements. And the reason for that is like you just aren't going to regret it. You know, moving forward when you get like deeper in, you know, because from here on out, like this is your primary tool, like this is the tool of the trade. We're not using pencil and paper really anymore. Everything is, you're going to do everything on the computer from here on out. So you have to make sure that the tool that you're using is like as good as you can make it. Okay. It's just going to really help you out because, like I said, later on when you're doing a lot bigger projects, specifically only on the computer, you're going to need to be multitasking like crazy, like having multiple applications open. And it just, if you have something with higher specs that has more processing power that can handle that, like it's not going to freeze up on you or lock up or anything like that. It's just going to run smoothly. So that's definitely what I recommend. Like if you know, that's optional, but if at some point you can sort of get something that's a little bit beefier, and I'm not saying anything like outrageous, like you can get a lot of really good computers for like $1,000, you know, it does, like that's sort of like middle of the road, but you know, depending on what you get, you can get something that's more than adequate. All right. I also recommend getting a second monitor if you don't have one. Just because it makes it so much easier. Like I do everything on at least, sometimes I work on 3 monitors, but I always at least have 2 monitors. And if I just have to work on a laptop doing like design type work, it's terrible. Like I honestly just can't even do it anymore. So once you go to like a 2 monitor setup, like you're not going to want to go back. It just makes your life so much easier, especially like if you're trying to follow along with something. But then, like if you're looking at my lecture or something like that, but then you're also like working in AutoCAD on your other screen, like it's just going to make your life so much easier. So if you can get your hands on just like any monitor that you can hook up to your laptop, it's going to make your life so much better. So software, like I said, we're going to have to download AutoCAD and Revit. With how the schedule is working out and stuff like that, like, sorry about the other day. I totally did not realize that today was technically the first day of classes. Like I said, my classes at Akron start on Monday, and usually Kent and Akron are on the same schedule. But that being said, the stuff that I opened up for you guys that we're working on this week, it's just going to be the same stuff next week, okay? So essentially, you get this entire week, and then you're going to get the whole next week to work on it. And I'm not going to open up anything new until next week finishes, okay? But that's going to give you some extra time to download AutoCAD because you don't have to have AutoCAD until what I'm calling week 2, which is really like sort of week 3. So all next week you can have that time to, you know, work on downloading AutoCAD and stuff like that if you're still working on that. But basically, you're just going to want to go to the link that I have on the course homepage. Right here, Autodesk software downloads. All right, and then you go to this site, and then you have to like, you know, go through this whole process if you haven't made an account yet and stuff. And then I guess now they're doing some kind of a verification, and some of you have already run into issues with this. Okay, you have to send in some documentation. They have to look at it to prove that you're a student. They didn't used to do that in the past. I don't know why now they're just now doing that. But basically, you're going to have to send them proof that you're actually one of my students. Like I said, I think the best thing, and they actually made me do it too, but what worked for me was I went to that page in Flashline, that GPS audit page. Let's see if I can find that really quick, just so that we're all clear on what I'm talking about. But if you go there and send them just a screenshot of that page, and make sure that they can see the Kent State logo, they will usually just give it to you. Like, I think I sent it to them, and it, like, in half an hour, I was approved. So if you just go to this thing, all right, here where you can see like your major and all that type of stuff, you just want to take a screenshot of this entire thing and make sure they can see the Kent State logo and all that. And even though it doesn't have like your like current course schedule on it, like they should give it to you. Okay, so that's what I recommend doing. All right, let me see. Going back to course page. All right, so yeah, make sure that you do your software downloads before the end of next week. You can get AutoCAD. Yeah, back to this actually. So you want to go on here once you're all approved. You want to download AutoCAD. You want to make sure that you just get the basic version. Like there's AutoCAD, but then there's like other ones on here. Usually, maybe not. Somewhere in here, like there's like AutoCAD Architecture, AutoCAD Civil 3D, all that kind of stuff. You just want a regular old AutoCAD because we're only using it for 2D stuff, okay? And that's all you need. So go ahead and download that. And then if you want to, download Revit right now too, just so that it's out of the way. You don't have to, but that's just going to save you from having to do it later on eventually. And make sure you just get the most recent versions of each application. All right? Let's go back to the syllabus. Okay, you're also going to need to get the Adobe Creative Suite, and that is a subscription-based thing, and that's $75 a year, which is really annoying. But to get that, and I'm going to actually provide more info on this when we get into Photoshop, but if you go to Kent State's software page, I don't know if any of you have been on here yet, software.kent.edu, this is what you want. You want to go inside of here, and you want to purchase it through this web page. So like go to view details and stuff and follow the directions that they give you, okay? But that's where you want to go to get that $75 fee, because usually it's even more than that. But since you guys are college students and stuff, they're going to give you a discount. All right, so you just want to go here, and that's where you want to get it. Now, I don't know if you're going to be using this type of stuff in some of your studio classes before we cover it. Hopefully that's not the case. So, I mean, if you want to, you can subscribe to it and get it sooner, but it's going to be a good like 3 or 4 weeks until we even get to it. So if you don't want to spend the money and start, paying for it right now, don't even worry about it. Just wait a couple more or a few more weeks, and then you can start. All right. But I'm gonna link to this later on once we get closer. But that's where you want to be. You can also get other things on here if you guys aren't aware, like Microsoft Office, like the newest versions of it and stuff. Like if you guys have never gone here and stuff, just like look at it, because there's like a lot of really cool stuff that you can just get for being students. All right. You also are going to have some method to back up all of your projects and classwork. So this is saying like a USB drive and stuff, an external drive. I honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't really recommend that anymore. Now all I recommend is Google Drive or OneDrive. Okay, so I'm sure you guys all know what Google Drive is. That's just through Google, and you get unlimited storage if you sign in using your Kent State ID. Okay, so just like you're going to your Gmail, you're just going to go there, and then you're just going to use Drive. That's really handy because you can just upload as much stuff there as you want. And then they also have this like plugin you can download, and I can link to this too. But if you like go to Google and you just say download Google Drive and go here, you can download this backup and sync plugin, and that's just something that sits like on your desktop, and it's gonna take you basically assign folders to it. So you can save all your work just on your computer, like My Documents or wherever you're used to saving things, and then you go into the application that you download and you tell Google Drive, I want to back up this folder. So then basically it's hands off. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just going to take and it's going to make a copy of that folder on your Google Drive. And anytime there's a change made, it's going to synchronize it. So there's always a backup there for you. Okay. So that way it's just passively doing it in the background, and you don't have to manually think, hey, I need to back up my stuff like you do with like a hard drive or something like that. Like in the past, it's been super easy for students to just lose their work because like they save it only to a flash drive or to an external hard drive. And like I can't tell you like the amount of times like people have come up to me like, I lost my entire project, can you help me find it? You know, I had it, I saved everything to this one little flash drive, and I must have dropped it somewhere, and I have no idea where I dropped it, and that's where all my work was. And I'm just kind of like, there's not really much I can do for you. I'm sorry. You know, so starting out, you just have to make sure that you're like have a good system set up so that nothing like that happens. Now, I use Google Drive for things, but I prefer OneDrive, and I'm sure some of you know what that is, but I feel like a lot of people don't know as well what it is compared to Google Drive. Basically, OneDrive is a thing that's already installed on your computer through Microsoft. So, like, if you have your File Explorer here, you should see somewhere that you have this little cloud icon, and it'll say OneDrive. Just like Google Drive, since you have a Kent State account, if you make a Microsoft account this is all through Microsoft. If you make a Microsoft account using your Kent State, email and stuff, you get unlimited storage on OneDrive, and it's really nice because it's already integrated with your computer. All you have to do is just go in here like any other folder, just like My Documents or wherever. You just click on this, and you just make all your folders and save everything here. All right, so you can see I have a bunch of folders here and stuff, but the nice thing is then you can go to the actual website and you can sign in. And that's my Outlook. Let's try OneDrive Online. All right. And this is the exact same stuff that you're seeing here. So the nice thing about this is it essentially works like Google Drive, but all your stuff is always synced and you can pull it up on any computer. So you don't have to worry about saving it onto a drive and then going and plugging it in. It's as long as you can access this web page, you can download any of your files and they're always backed up, which is it's super slick in my opinion. I use it all through my undergrad, and it's still like the only thing that I use to save my files, and I've never had a problem. I've never lost an assignment or anything like that. So definitely take advantage of it, okay? Because if you don't, I guarantee something bad could happen. All right, it's just a good thing to be using.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have OneDrive on my laptop too, but the past few months I keep getting notifications that says my OneDrive is full. So
okay.
Do you pay for yours?
No. Now, is the account that you have tied to that OneDrive your personal account, or is it through your Kent State email?
I believe it's my Kent State email.
Okay. We might have to look at that separately, but I can definitely outside of this help you. But if you use your Kent State email, it should just give you unlimited storage.
I'll have to check because it might be my personal lab because I've been getting it for like a couple months.
Okay.
I remember I deleted stuff like over the summer, but like it still keeps popping up. Like every time I open my laptop, it tells me like my OneDrive is full.
Yeah, I would try just going to Microsoft's website to like make a new Microsoft account and try using your Kent State email. And if it says this account already exists, then you might have to figure it out. But see if it lets you just make a new account. All right. So, any other questions on that before I move on? All right. So, required textbooks, no required textbook for the course. I have a textbook that I use for my purposes, but if there's anything important that I need you to know about, I'm just going to post snippets of that on the course page, so that way you guys don't need to buy it, because there's not really a reason to spend a bunch of money on things, especially nowadays with like you being able to pretty much look up anything online. Like anything that I'm going to teach you, you're going to find it in some form online if you know what to look for. So no required textbook. This one is the one that I am using and referencing. Visual Guide to AutoCAD by Douglas Seidler. I don't know. This is what it looks like. So, like, if you're interested in getting it, it is a really good textbook just to have. Everything is really drawn out and laid out really clearly and nicely. But honestly, I don't know that I would get it just because AutoCAD is... once you get through this course in this semester, you're probably not going to use AutoCAD throughout the remainder of your time in the program too much, just because it's sort of like the tool of the past. The reason that I still teach it, and they gave me the option to cut it out of the curriculum entirely, but I decided to keep it in because pretty much anywhere you're going to work, most of the time you have people there using AutoCAD. And a lot of that's just because of like the older generation. It's the tool that they're used to, the tool that they're most comfortable with. So sometimes you go into a place and maybe that's what they use exclusively based on how old the people who work at that company are. Okay, like I've worked at three different architecture firms. The first place I worked at, like they pretty much used both AutoCAD and Revit equally. The second place I worked at, they use only AutoCAD, and they like thought I was just like this amazing person because I knew how to use Revit, which that's what you're going to be using pretty much all the time going forward. But like a lot of people just don't know how to use Revit, and they don't really want to learn how because they just think it's too hard, when really it's really not that bad if you really take the time to just learn it. But like right now at VoCon where I am, like depending on what sort of a team you're on, that's going to sort of dictate what kind of a tool you're using. Like we have like 3 different studios, and our architecture studio, they're pretty much only using Revit for their stuff. But then the interior studio, those people pretty much only use AutoCAD. So it really just depends. Like you have no idea what your future job is going to have you using. So you really just have to be familiar with all of it, Now, you're not going to need to consistently use AutoCAD once we cover it probably, but you just want to have just sort of like a background familiarity with it so that if you ever do have to use it again, like you're not totally lost and have to relearn it. Like you can look at something and say, oh, I recognize that. That's familiar. I remember what that is or how to use that. So that's kind of the main goal with covering AutoCAD. All right. Another book that's really useful. I don't know if you guys have this book or if you're still required to have it. Do you guys have this textbook? Any of you? It's called Construction Drawings and Details for Interiors. They used to require that when I was there. That's a really good textbook. So that, I recommend just getting this textbook outside of this class just for purposes of understanding things. It's super detailed. It's super graphical. Like it gives you all kinds of like really good tables and stuff, and just like it basically goes through and it explains every single aspect of construction drawings. Yeah, I can post that on Blackboard. It basically explains every single aspect of construction drawings. So every single type of drawing, you know, if you've already watched my first lecture, I covered a little bit about the different types of construction drawings that you're going to be creating in this industry. And at your guys' level, like I remember it when I was going through, like when all this is being thrown at you, it's really confusing, and there might be a project where you're asked to produce something, and that's kind of when you're taking your studio classes, you're going to find out a lot of the times you'll be asked to do something, but nobody's really going to explain it very clearly. It's just going to be required. They're probably going to assume that you learned it in some other class, when in reality you really haven't really touched on it at all. You know, I experienced that frustration when I was going through it, but that book is really great because it's just super informative, and it's just going to clear things up up so much better. All right, so I'll post the link to that textbook on the page after this, so that if you're interested, you guys can get it. But that I highly recommend it. All right, so CETA objectives. You guys have probably gone through this kind of stuff all day. I'm not going to really read through that. You can read through it on your own. That just is required to be in there. So course material and the assessment policies. Students will be evaluated and assessed through lab assignments, weekly quizzes, and in-class practicals by demonstrating their understanding and awareness of the software through practice and course demonstration. Complete assignments and quizzes are due on the established due dates unless otherwise instructed. Late projects may be reviewed and graded at the discretion of the instructor unless an official excuse is provided. So if you turn something in late and you have a good reason behind it, I will, you know, usually accept it. Maybe I'll take a few points off or something like that. But if you have like a legit excuse, like I was in the hospital and there was nothing I could do about it, like I couldn't get my work done, then just let me know, and like obviously I'll work with you. So course material, course content will be delivered through a series of weekly learning modules on the course Blackboard page. The following content breakdown is attentive and subject to change. Also, I see your questions popping up. I'm just going to run through those sort of at the end, so I can just like get through this stuff. So I'll just read through all your questions and just sort of answer them all at the end. So it's basically going to be a combination of weekly quizzes, weekly lab assignments, and practical assignments. So this first week, I had you guys do sort of like that introduce yourself discussion board. We're not going to do any more discussion boards after that. That was sort of just like an easy week one, like opening assignment to get you guys going, you know, since everybody's still downloading the software and stuff like that. But basically, that will be replaced going forward by these lab assignments. And the lab assignments are actually you like working inside of AutoCAD and like doing different tasks and things like that. And then you'll be submitting files. I'm working on creating the week 2 lab right now. And so I can already tell you what that one's going to be. Basically, it's just one AutoCAD file I'm going to give you. And it's got a series of little exercises and instructions like built into it. And then you guys will just have to download that file, work through the different exercises that are inside of it, and then you're going to upload images of what you've done as sort of like your answers. So those technically are set up as quizzes on Blackboard, but that's just because that's the easiest way for me to like assess you and like, you know, get the answers the way that I want them to be, like for me grading them. So when you see it, it's going to ask you like 8 questions, but each question is like upload a picture of this exercise, like what you did, and then you'll upload the photo, and that'll be the question answered. Okay, so when that opens up, you'll get a better idea what I'm talking about, but it's basically going to be that kind of format going forward for the labs, I'm thinking. But if I find something that I think works better, then we'll go that route. Quizzes. So I did give you a quiz this week. the quiz was sort of like a combination between a quiz and like a lab assignment, but that was just, a set of questions that you just have to go through and answer. I'm thinking I'm going to leave those pretty much open to where you have unlimited time to do them. And I'm not going to like lock you down or anything with the lockdown browser. I did that in the past and it's just such a nightmare, and I know everybody hates it. Being back in school myself, I hate it because I've had teachers who make me use it, and it's just so annoying if you ever had to use it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just more concerned about you taking the time to find answers for yourself. I feel like if I try to restrict you more, you're going to be more tempted to cut corners and stuff like that. So I'm leaving it as open as possible so that you have plenty of time. There's no pressure. Just get it done before the end of the week and just go through and find the answers and figure out what the correct answers are. That's the main goal is I want you to get the right answers because I want you to know that, or I want to know that you're understanding it. Okay. So that's the first one. It's set up as a quiz. You're basically just going to open that up, and then you don't have to submit it once you open it. You can close it and reopen it later. But you're going to get only one submission on each quiz, and you're just going to work on it throughout the week. And, if you can answer a few questions here or there, that's great. But just make sure you get all of them answered and then saved and then submitted before Sunday at midnight. All right. It's going to be consistent Sunday at midnight every week for any assignments that we have. And hopefully these assignments aren't too bad. Me looking at them, I think they're honestly, it's going to be pretty straightforward and simple. I just want you to do them. I don't want you to be really bogged down, and I don't want this class to be like a hindrance. I want you to be able to get through the content quick, because the whole idea with this class is you're learning these tools to use in your studio class that you're taking at the same time. So I can't really have you guys bogged down and really spending a ton of time on my stuff either. All right. So moving on, attendance. Since this is online, the attendance is not good. It's not going to be recorded. You're not going to be required to show up or anything. I'm thinking about my plan right now is to have a live session once a week, but that's just going to be one by request. So each week from here on out, I'm going to put up a little poll in each module, and I'm going to say, how many of you guys want a live session? You can wait till Wednesday or something halfway through the week to answer it, and then we could have a live session on Thursday then. But I'll say, how many of you guys want to have a live session if you feel like you're struggling or have questions, or and it could be to answer questions for any of your classes. I'll answer whatever questions you want. I don't care. It doesn't have to just be about this class. If you have something about studio you are curious about or need help with, sure, I'll answer that question too. But if you guys halfway through the week, feel like, I really am struggling with something and I feel like I need him to demonstrate or explain something a little bit more clearly, you can answer that poll and say, yes, I want a live session, or no, I don't want a live session. And then I also have on there that if you do want a live session and there's some sort of specific question that you need answered, you can type your question in right on the poll and just click submit, and then I'll be able to see it so that I'm prepared going into the session and I have my whole list of questions written out that I can answer for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to start doing that week 2, and then if it goes well, I'll just keep doing that every week. But if there's no demand for a live session, if everybody's like, no, I'm good, I don't really need anything, then cool, we don't have to meet that week. And if you have a question, you can just email me or something like that. If you want to do a private session, for office hours or something like that, you can get in touch with me and we can set something up and do something like this. There are tools, and I think Zoom does it. At least I was talking to Bill Willoughby, the associate dean, when he was asking me if I want to do this course again and stuff. And he was telling me that on Zoom you can screen share and I can take control of your mouse and stuff. I've used other tools like that in the past and they work really well. So if you're struggling with something, I can just take control of your mouse and I can just show you how to do it on your own computer remotely. So that's really cool. So that could definitely be an option going forward if you guys need help with stuff like that. All right. General policies and procedures, I'm not really going to touch on that. That's kind of just general like Kent State type stuff. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to the schedule and go through that. I just added this to the folder earlier today, by the way, if you haven't seen it. All right, this is tentative. I don't know exactly if this is 100% how it's going to be because I'm kind of making things as I go. I didn't even know if I was teaching this class until like 3 weeks ago. I assumed I was, but I didn't have any correspondence between the college and myself until a few weeks back. So I wasn't quite sure, what to be developing. So that's kind of why I'm working through things as we go here a little bit. But I'm trying to stay at least 1 or 2 weeks ahead of where we're at, so we'll never get like behind or anything like that. So I'm planning on this being a 12-week course. When I talked to Bill the last time, he was like, you can either do this as a 15-week class with like live sessions, or no, either do it as a 15-week class with like how we're doing it now, like asynchronous, where I'm just posting pre-recorded stuff and you watch it, or do it as a 12-week class and have live sessions twice a week. So if you look at your schedule, you'll see that it says this class is supposed to be from like 5:30 to 7, or what is it, 5:30 to 7:30 or 5:30 to 8 or something like that. Yeah. So that's what it was when I was teaching it in person. But I'm like, why am I going to do a live session? Like, why am I going to tie you guys to your computer in an online environment when I'm trying to teach you how to use a program? Like, you won't be able to do anything at the same time as me. So that's completely useless unless you have a second monitor, and I can't count on that. So that's why I'm going this route of pre-recorded, so that you can just watch it on your own time, and it's a lot simpler. But he was like, yeah, if you want to do like 5 hours of lecturing live per week, you can do it for 12 weeks. And I'm like, honestly, I think we can get it in 12 weeks. We can get it in 12 weeks and still do it like the way I'm doing it now, just pre-recorded. So I still have to confirm with him on the exact time frame that we're going to be spending in this class, but I'm really shooting for 12 weeks. Like, I think that's going to be totally fine. Like, basically that breaks down to a month per program. All right, so that should be more than enough time. And especially, like, I can control things a lot better with it being totally online. And anything I want you to learn for the week, I just upload it and just have you do it. So I'm not worried about missing out on any content by it only being 12 weeks instead of 15. Like, I think it's just going to be too long if we, drag it out. But basically, if it is 12 weeks, that's going to put us to right before, or we're going to end going into Thanksgiving break, which will be really nice. So you go into Thanksgiving break, you'll be all done with the class, you'll come back and you'll wrap up your last 3 weeks with your other courses, which is cool. And it's also good for me since I'm taking classes. Like, I'm going to have finals too and stuff. So looking at the schedule, I have filled in through week 13 because technically next week is a continuation of week 1. Okay, so I filled in through 13 weeks. And then these last 3 weeks I've just put question marks for right now because I don't know what's going to happen, if he's going to make us go for an extra 3 weeks. If he does, it's not going to be like anything super hard that I'm going to have you do. I might just touch on like a couple more things, but maybe I won't do stuff for grades as much or at all. We'll see. But basically here we are, week 1, and we're doing the introduction, and we're going to have our discussion assignment and our labs/quiz 1. And then next week is going to be the exact same thing, like I said. So just keep on doing exactly this week or next week what you're doing this week. If you've already got it all done, or if you're going to get it done this week, then great. Like next week, you're good for this class, okay? After that, on 9/7, we're going to start looking more into like the specific drawing and modify tools inside of AutoCAD, and then you'll have another quiz in lab. And it's just basically that all the way down, okay? So it's really consistent. Like, you're always going to expect, some kind of a lab assignment, some kind of a quiz every week. And usually I'm not going to make them too crazy. I'm not going to go like overboard on it. And then we're going to cover AutoCAD through 9/27. And then on 9/28, we're going to start Photoshop. And I'm kind of chunking Photoshop and InDesign together. Photoshop is definitely the much more important application for you guys to know how to use. So we're going to give that like a full 3 weeks, just going through stuff at a nice pace so that you understand exactly how to do everything inside of it. And then you'll have InDesign for a week, okay? And that's basically the application that we use to like lay out presentation boards and stuff, okay? And then after that, we're going to have Revit, and Revit's just going to go for a full month, okay? So that's going to go through 11/22, and then right after 11/22, we're going to have our Thanksgiving break. And then you'll see at the end of each of these sort of modules, these like software modules, there's going to be some sort of a practical project / assignment, and that's just going to be me giving you like a prompt and saying, do this, like make this AutoCAD drawing and turn it in or something. It shouldn't be too crazy. It's not going to be nearly as big as the projects we did last year. Just like something that you're going to do and I'm going to turn in so that I know for sure that you personally did it and that you know how to use the software. You know, not just like I answered questions on a quiz. That doesn't really, it tells me something, but it doesn't tell me everything, because you might be working together on that or something like that. You know, I can't tell for sure, but those practical projects and stuff like that, those are going to be totally like individual effort. They all need to be unique, and I need to know that you each did them on your own, okay? That's something else that I forgot to mention going through the syllabus. So the first couple years I taught this class, especially the first year, I had a super bad problem with people cheating on stuff. With it just being like a digital class with files and things like that, like it's super easy for people to just like share things if they don't get stuff done. Like, I'm just gonna give my friend this file, and then she can turn it in, and they won't know. But I can tell exactly who has shared what. Like, I have ways of finding those things out. So I'm hoping it won't be an issue, just because I'm only having these 3 smaller practical assignments. Hopefully, like, you're not going to be tempted to cheat because it's not going to be too crazy. But just know that, like, if you do, like, I have means on my end of being able to see, 1, if the copy is original to you, and 2, exactly where you got the file from. So, like, my first semester, I caught like a third of the class cheating, so that was like 20 people. And I was able to like say to every single person, like, okay, you 3 cheated, you 2 cheated, you cheated with him, you cheated with her, and none of them questioned me on it because they knew it. And so they got in pretty big trouble. So just don't let it happen. Just know that like I have my ways on my end of finding things out. I don't anticipate it bringing a problem just because of how I'm trying to change things up, but just keep that in mind. And also, with that being said, there shouldn't be a reason for you to cheat, because I'm trying to make myself as open and available to you as possible. So if you're struggling with something, or if you don't understand something, or you're falling behind and you need like something, you know, really bad is going on and you just can't get the work done for whatever reason, like, just talk to me and I'll work with you, okay? I don't want you to resort to cheating because you don't think I'm going to be flexible and I'm not going to help you guys. So just keep that in mind. I will work with you. I try to be as friendly as I can. I don't want to. I don't like to think I'm a scary person. Maybe I am, but hopefully not. Hopefully you find out that I'm super approachable and you can ask me whatever you want. I forgot to say, I said this in my email, but my number is on the syllabus and my number is on the course webpage. If you want to text me, that's totally fine. Like, honestly, that's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. And I'm not formal at all. Like, I'm not like, you don't have to call me professor, you know. I don't have a PhD or a master's or anything like that. Like, I'm not going to expect you to, I'm not going to adhere you to some sort of like a title for me. Like, just call me by my first name. That's totally fine. You can text me. Just say, hey, I don't get this. You know, what am I doing wrong here? And I'll help you out. You can email me if you're more comfortable with that. It doesn't matter. But like, if you want to text me, I'm just saying you can do that. Okay. let's see. I think that's pretty much it. So that's a little bit longer than 15 minutes, I guess. Going on 53 minutes now. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to open it up and you can ask whatever. If not, you're free to go. And I thank you for joining me. All right. And I'll read through some of these questions that you guys have posted too, because I saw them going in the chat, but all right, let me pull this up. Share the, okay, I'm going to post the textbook info. Good reference in that book. Yeah, so for the assignments, if there's a reference, I guess, that could help you out, I'll point you in the right direction. But my idea with the assignments is I'm going to try to pull any question straight from the material that I give you. So if you're asked something, somewhere it's going to be covered, okay? So I can definitely point you in the right direction, but any question I ask, you're going to be able to find it somewhere in the material that I give to you, whether it's a PowerPoint or if it's like my lecture, okay? You need to have the newest version of the software if you download it. You don't have to have the newest version. It's just maybe a little bit better if you do. It really, for AutoCAD, it matters 0%. Like, I don't care if you have an old version or a new version of AutoCAD. It makes no difference. One of the guys that I work with, he still uses AutoCAD 2004, okay, and it works fine. It's not really changed that much since back in the day. So that doesn't really matter if you have an older version already installed. Just keep it. Yeah, that's totally fine. Revit, I would get the newest version just because Revit has all these like compatibility issues with like older files. So I'm gonna try to keep everything as recent as I can. So that way, you know, it's not a big deal for me to grade stuff or for you to open things that I give you. All right. So yeah, live sessions are not required. Those are optional. If we do have a live session, you know, during the week, I'm going to record it and post it so that you can go back later and you can rewatch it on your own time if you feel like, you know, seeing what we talked about. If like you had a question and maybe somebody else asked it or something, I'm just going to record it and post it. There's no set final for the class. It's basically just turn in like the practicals or like whatever's due on that last week of classes. All right. For quiz 1, the videos that are associated with it. Okay, so quiz 1, the questions are in a random order. So they don't correlate exactly to a specific, you know, time frame in the lectures. So you're just gonna have to watch the lectures and then open up the assignment and then go through it and kind of go back and sort of figure out where some of those answers are. Okay, and the reason I do that is just to make sure you're paying attention in the lectures, that you're just following along really closely. So honestly, there's like maybe a small amount of questions. Like if you're reading through the questions on the test and it says based on the lecture, you're gonna know that you can only find the answer to that question in the lecture through something that I said throughout that video, okay? And pro tip for the lectures, I know you probably aren't going to want to hear me talk for like 2 hours, okay? So the first week of lectures, that was like 2 hours total. So I was very nice, and what I did was, instead of using the default way of uploading videos to Blackboard, I did it through YouTube. So I uploaded them to my YouTube channel, and then I like linked it into here. I like embedded it into the web page. So that way, you can go in here and you can go to settings and you can set the playback speed, okay? So you can speed me up to 2 times and you'll get through the lecture twice as fast. So there's a little pro tip for you guys if you don't want to spend all day listening to me talk, all right? that's definitely one of my biggest gripes when I take classes. And I'm like, do I really have to sit here and like listen to this person? Like, I don't need this whole lecture. Do I really have to sit here and listen to this person talk for 2 hours? Seriously, I can't speed this up. So I had that in mind. So hopefully that makes things a little bit better for you, because I still have to like lecture you guys and stuff. It's just like a requirement. If I could get around that and not have to do any lecturing at all, I totally would. Trust me. Okay. How do you get rid of AutoCAD 2019 off your computer? If you just go to your... Let me move this. If you just go to like your little bar down here and you type in uninstall, there's this uninstall tool which you can use through Autodesk. I also think if you just go to where it says add or remove programs, you'll be able to find it in this list. Yeah, so you just go here, click on that, and you say uninstall. That's all you have to do. And then you can just reinstall it with the new version or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but that's how you do it. All right, that's it for the chat. Any other questions that anybody wants to say before we cut this off?
Yeah, I have one really quick.
Okay.
So you just said like about our quizzes and stuff, how there might be some like where it relates to like the lecture specifically.
Yep.
When we're taking the quiz, is it like locked in like once we start the quiz we finish there?
No.
Or are we allowed to go back and like look at the lecture?
No. So the whole idea behind that is like it's set up as a quiz for automatic grading purposes. Like all the correct answers are built in, so it'll grade it for me. But I made it so that it's my intent with that is like it's like just a written homework assignment. So you can open it, just have it in a different tab, but it's not going to lock you, and you get unlimited time. And you can even close out of that tab, and it'll save all your answers. So you can reopen it later and keep going on it. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? All right, well, I guess that's it then. So thank you for joining. We'll be in touch, and good luck the rest of this week and next week. All right? Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.